all roads lead to Poland. At least our roads lead to this studio. The people who are on the show and you who are watching. And may I say, you're looking good. Looking pretty good, actually. I don't know if you've been exercising or what, or just living right. But good-looking audience. I tell you, it's a great audience. It's a great audience. Fantastic. The best audience I ever saw. My guests today on our show are, this is a bad Rodney Dangerfield impression, but you didn't meet me to tell you that. Olgierd Uziemblo, linguist, man about town, and speaker extraordinaire, who had a lecture at the University of Knowledge on Sunday in Warsaw about linguistics. And we have Anthony Mcfarlane Gonzalez, our, well, I say our security expert, cybersecurity expert he is, but also on security is a man who knows a bunch of things. But today, we're going to keep it pretty easy. We're not going to, you know, I wanted to lighten the show up a little bit, and since we are in Poland, have another show just talking about things about Poland, not getting into the war in any serious way at this time, or elections or politics or anything. Just stay talking about something that we can have fun with, and which I think will be educational for the audience, which is interesting facts about Poland. But one of the most interesting facts that we had at the end of last show, what was that, Olgierd? Do you remember? The last interesting fact at the end of the show. It was in Sopot. There were two, actually.
No, the longest pier, the bear, or what?
The longest pier and Wojtek the bear.
Yeah, Wojtek the bear, yeah.
Yeah, but Anthony, do you know about Wojtek the bear?
Actually, no.
Wojtek the bear was a bear who was in the Polish army. That's not a joke. That's no joke. I'm not kidding, as President Biden would say. He was a bear who served with the Polish army, an Iranian bear, actually, defector from Iran, or a Persian bear, if you will, distant cousin of Winnie the Pooh, but an actual living bear. If I hope I'm not upsetting some of the kids out there, that Winnie the Pooh is just a figure from fiction. But Wojtek the bear served particularly famously at Monte Cassino, where he was a water carrier. He loved beer, and he used to sit in the passenger seat, sitting upright in the Jeep and give directions, usually to the nearest honeypot. That predilection for the sweet stuff he does share with Winnie the Poohster, who
Can I have a question
one of my favorite
Tony?
characters. Yes, sir.
My question would be, because you're the biking person, aren't you, Tony, right?
That's what they tell me.
Yeah. So what would be your favorite biking area around Wisła?
My favorite Viking area
Not
around
yours, Tony's.
What?
Biking?
Yeah.
Oh, Tony.
Oh, definitely.
Cycling, I mean.
Yeah, definitely the one around the lake, around the Wisła River. The big lake that you have there down in Warsaw. I forget what
Gonzalez?
that one is. Yes. It's right by the fort where they had one of the massive battles.
Modlin Fortress.
Yes, Modlin. Yep.
Yeah, that's the big Russian fort built in the early to mid 1800s. Modlin. Oh, I got to correct something. I used the name of Charles Sumner as being a politician from South Carolina during the Civil War and after it. In fact, it was my mistake. It was John C. Calhoun who said that a Southern gentleman would never do any work that required sweating or something to that effect, which was a big difference between Southern gentlemen and Northern gentlemen who like the hard hustle. The other thing was, it was the election of 1876, not 1880, which was so heavily contested and reminds us a bit of the election process today in the United States. In other words, it's not new that people are nasty during elections, so no reason to get excited.
Why am I asking, Tony? Because we were talking about Wisła last time, and I actually remembered that you said something about cycling around, and I was wondering which one Tony would prefer. So, did you go to Modlin? Have you seen the fort, the whole thing?
Oh yeah, the cycling takes us The Lotto Poland Bike Marathon takes us around the entire fort, and you go extend out in towards the suburbs and then come right back around the entire fort. So it was really nice. It was a beautiful course, and yeah, it's stunning. I absolutely love it. And it was kind of cool seeing some of the planes coming in too, because you're close by the airport.
Do you know that there was a urban legend in Warsaw that there was a connection between Warsaw Citadel and Modlin, and there was supposedly an underground train going there?
No, that's the first time I'm hearing about it.
That's the urban legend. I don't know how much truth is in it, but there was something like among the locals that there was a secret tunnel in which there was a train. But we love those tunnel stories. There was
Where was the train going?
From Warsaw Citadel
To the Citadel.
directly to the Modlin fort.
Huh. Well, not the Citadel. It looks like the Citadel, but it's built around the same time.
It was the same time, and there was the same architectural idea, and the idea was to control the local population here, because we're so friendly with Russians.
Yeah, these are two. A fun fact about Poland is that the Russians built some huge fortresses in Poland, the biggest ones actually.
Yeah, if you look around Warsaw, you'll still find some leftovers of the citadel system, because it was not on the citadel. There were separate forts strategically located in different places. Like very near Warsaw University, there is one. The leftovers of one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And for a long time, there was a theater. It belonged to the Polish theater, Teatr Polski, and they had a storage room in there. But now I believe it's abandoned.
Very good. Let's move on to some. I'll read you a little something I got off the internet about Poland. I'm going to see if you agree with this. It says, it said, it says a nation with a complex history, a unique culture and way of life, as well as significant achievement. Poland is perhaps one of the most interesting countries in Europe and across the world. Below, we explore interesting facts about Poland. Okay, so we're going to be looking at those. I was wondering who this was written by. Oh yeah, here it says Polish Tourism and Commerce Agency. I just made that up, but it could have been. It could have been written by them. Complex history, we can agree on that. Anthony, unique culture and way of life. You've been living here 10 years. Anthony?
Yeah, it is absolutely unique in the way of life.
You're laughing. Why are you laughing?
Because it's true. I mean, they do have a very unique way of life, because they do value their history, they value their culture, and they're very proud of it. And I absolutely love that. Not a lot of countries can say that they've maintained their culture throughout. I don't know how many years. It's like 1,500 years in the existence of Poland. And throughout that, many other cultures have tried to eradicate the Polish culture, but they still kept it. Not very many cultures can say that.
Tony, I will show you something that is very uniquely Polish. Look at my face. That is traditional resting Polish smiling face.
Nah, you mean that when the ladies also are mad at you and you're looking at them like, honey, are you mad? I was like, no, I'm just smiling silently. I'm like, uh-huh.
Yes.
You got the death stare. I'm like, I'm a dead man.
No, it's no. When you're passing ladies in the street, boy, even in Warsaw, it's not. There's not a lot of smiling going on. It's this sort of dipping the head when they walk by and all that. That didn't used to be the case. It's the case now. I wonder why. Is that part of this not wanting to smile tradition? Or what is that all about?
I don't know, man.
Have you noticed anything like that, Tony?
No, you've never noticed that?
Oh, definitely noticed it. I mean, it's weird because it's really towards. I think, and it's weird, but when you open up and you speak to them and you say hi, you catch them off guard saying it in Polish. But I mean, it really happens to me because, of course, look, I'm from a different country. Of course,
what? How can they tell?
Color. Oh, I could not know. But once you just say hello and how are you in Polish, and then they start speaking to you in Polish, you kind of like let relax. And if you smile at them, but if they just walk down the street and they're just like,
Tony, you know what is the secret? Don't overdo the smiling.
Yeah. Okay. Why is that? Why is smiling? Why do we have to keep a reserve on our smiles?
I don't know this. I'm saying that as a local person, I have noticed that sometimes when people are too much smiley, it's like, what the hell do you want from me?
Uh-huh. Okay.
No, I can see that. But no,
Is that
honestly,
it?
to tell you the truth,
Like a car
no, I
salesman?
don't.
Yeah. Or a
You
politician?
got a good point.
Yeah.
Politician.
Mm.
Yeah, I would say it is a leftover of those years of, constant war and distrust around people. That we are like kind of okay. We can help. We're okay, but just when you're smiling, why the hell are you smiling to me? What's
Yeah,
wrong
but
with
why?
you?
But why are we so? But why are they so clammed up? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, there are other countries that are here that have been through the same wars, and they're not as clammed up.
I don't know. That's a mixture
That's
of
interesting.
northern and southern. If you look at the northern
Yeah.
people, if you look at Finland, I really like Finnish example because they are even more radical. Have you ever seen a meme with a Finnish line? How to discover a foreigner in Finland? When the Finnish people are standing in line, is 1, 2, 3, clump of foreigners, 4, 5, because foreigners stay together and Finnish people need to keep a distance. And I think this is the part in us that we keep a distance.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because as you go south
And when you
towards the
go
southern
south,
countries, oh my gosh, it's just all we're all
like,
together in groups and
have you ever
talking and
heard
jaw
a
jacking.
problem of an American guy in Brazil?
What happened?
No,
No, he had a really big. That's it was described in one of the anthropological books. Like the American guy had a real problem doing business in Brazil because every time he tried to talk to Brazilian people, they were offensively attacking him, and the Brazilian people were describing the same encounter as a, "Oh God, he keeps aloof from us, and he withdraws every time we try to talk
Really?
because of the personal distance."
That's funny. I did business in the Amazon. I never had trouble, actually. Everybody was very nice. But then I, I, I wonder, I don't remember people being over the top, unless you were in the wrong street late at night. You would attract a
Yeah.
lot of unwanted attention then.
No, but I have noticed that there is a definite difference of distance on which you talk between, for example, Chinese and Polish.
That's true.
Definite.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
And because people are keep advancing on you because they want to be closer to you, and then we are going to withdraw. And the worst was when Chinese people, they like to touch people when they talk.
They do?
Spanish
Especially
people
with-
do. Latin American people, Hispanic people do, because that's just how we show that we actually do care and entice, and we want to make it more personal. Because instead of just being that, like Olgierd alluded to, is that space. We don't want to make you think that we don't have vested interest in you.
I have
Because
seen
your
fights-
father's Panamanian, right?
My mom and my dad are both Latin American. My
Both,
dad is
okay.
Panamanian, and my mom is Costa Rican.
Oh, yeah.
So I've seen a
Yeah.
fight break out
Nice
between
part of the world.
a Russian guy and I believe that guy was from Cuba just because of that touching.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well-
I've had that. I had a massive problem in the States like that because the States men or people, and Will can detest this, because they don't like that Hispanic thing where we do touch. We actually say, hey, hi, we come in and give you a hug, say, how are you doing? We give you a kiss on the cheek. That's traditional. And then we are always, because we use our hands. We use our hands to communicate with each other. And that's the same. And I've noticed that same thing here in Poland, that once you break that ice, that's just totally different. Then, oh yeah, come on in, and you touch and give you kisses, three kisses traditionally. But yeah, you just have to break that ice, the barrier.
But there is
Once it's
always ice.
broken.
That's the
No.
keep the north ice, and then it's okay. It's a very different one once you're through. It's difficult to get through.
Yeah.
Stuck. And that is the biggest thing I've noticed.
When I was in Nicaragua, living there, I didn't mind if somebody was using their hands a lot, unless it had a machete in it, in the hand. And
That's a whole different story.
that
When were
upset
you in
me.
Nicaragua?
It could upset me a little bit. I lived there for 2 years.
When?
2000 and, well, let's see, it started in 2006, 2007, 2008. It ended right around the
Okay.
time of the big calamity. Lost a lot of money there. It was a big
Well,
gamble.
I'm asking because when
Yeah.
my father was a diplomat, he was also in Nicaragua, but that was in a deep first Ortega times.
Yeah, I mean, I met
Mariano
Ortega.
that little piece of what? You met him?
Yeah, and his son had a great recording studio. I met all these people. It wasn't very hard. There's not a lot of people there in Nicaragua, and there's only a few people who live in good houses.
Oh, Will.
Now you're surprised.
I am very surprised. I'm like, holy. And
No, I mean, you would
lived
meet
to tell
everybody.
the tale.
I met some of the guys who are running. It was the same family. All the same family is running same couple, 3, 4, 5 families running everything. So if you go to
My father was there when we were still communists, and he was, he actually met Ortega as well.
Who did? Who?
My father.
His father.
Oh, yeah.
Because
well, I'm sure he
there
got
was some
the
kind
better
of a
talk than I
diplomatic
did.
meeting. It was not like getting good friends, but yeah.
Yeah, well, it was kind of his job, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah. We just built a factory there to manufacture wooden furniture and doors. And that was a great project. Anyway, I don't want to start getting tearful about what might have been. I liked it there. I really did. I mean, you don't want to be there all the time. You want to.
I don't think there is a good connection.
But it was fun.
Mental connection between Panama and Nicaragua, is there?
Is there a good connection? I don't know. Ask him. Yeah.
Not even the Swiss of the Switzerland of Latin America, Costa Rica does not even have a good relationship with Nicaragua. Not at all. So Panama, no way in HE double hockey sticks. People absolutely despise each other with the utmost of ruthlessness.
Well, Nicaragua and Haiti would be the 2 poorest countries in Latin America, or Latinate countries, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that.
That's what they say. Yeah. And of course, Haiti.
No, it's true.
Haiti's an island with Dominican, but
yeah.
Hispaniola.
No, but
Columbus called it. Go ahead.
But yeah, no, you're right. No, I was just gonna say you're right with Nicaragua being the poorest because they have a massive problem with migrations going to the north and south, and predominantly you see we have a lot of barrios or a lot of slums in Costa Rica because of these guys, and crime has just skyrocketed to the roof, and a lot of the drug cartels now are operating very, very easily because the Nicaraguans need jobs and they're providing them the jobs. And that's one of the biggest problems that Costa Rica and Panama have seen is an uptick in cartel crime and standard crime, which is a sad thing because those countries are paradises, still are, but they have a lot of crime. It stinks.
And we filter around to Poland because, as you probably know, in Haiti there is a Polish village.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Tell us about it.
And there were some soldiers in the French time, Napoleonic Wars. One of the Polish troops were sent to Haiti to fight for the La République. And some of the people stayed behind and they actually fought on the other side. They defected because they decided that the Napoleonic case is not so fair in those areas. So they defected and they stayed in Haiti. And their descendants until now, they still recognize themselves as being partially Polish. The name of the village is, I believe, Casale. It's near Port-au-Prince.
Interesting. Well, Nicaragua also has a Polish contingent because they discovered gold there, and a lot of miners came from Poland. They used the miners, and so there's decided, and they brought the tradition. So the polka is part, I believe it's the polka is part of the Nicaraguan music, folk music tradition. Yep.
The northern part of the mountains and the regions, yes, where where people discovered some of the best marathon runners, yes, or that's where they have a lot of Polish traditions.
Is that right? You knew about that in Nicaragua, right?
I didn't know about it. Interesting.
Yeah, and their dancing incorporates this sort of Polish. It's very interesting. I once interviewed this guy, Carlos Mejia Godoy, who is famous singer and guitar player and songwriter and poet. He was the poet of the Sandinistas, they said. Very nice guy, actually. After one of his gigs, I sat and talked to him for a while, and he was telling me stories about how it all started with the Sandinistas, because he was there, and how they were all in jail, and how they got arrested, and how you weren't supposed to. If you got in trouble too much, then Somoza, if he was having a bad day, would grab you and put you in a helicopter and drop you in the Messiah volcano. Yes. Pretty scary stuff, right?
Talking about poets,
but he told me about the Polish music mixed up. That was the point. I wrote that for one of the
Do you know
papers
about Dom? Do you know about Dom Tańca?
Tell me, us, yeah.
Dom Tańca is the whole association that is taking care of traditional Polish music, tunes, dances, and they concentrate on dance by the name. Those are very interesting people. There's a lot of this kind of very grassroots activity around all those countries around here. They actually have a strong connection to Finland, to the Baltic states, and there is a lot of meetings with the car. They call them caravans, tabory, and they call those meetings, and they associate in certain places and around certain cities, and they dance. That's something you should actually take a look at.
I'd be happy to do that. Yeah. How are you doing for time, Anthony? You okay?
Yep, I got 15 minutes.
Oh, super. Okay, let's talk about partitions, because Poland is the only country in Europe that has been wiped off the map for nearly, 175 years, 150, 160 years, something like that?
Oh, come on, don't say the only country in Europe, because that's not true.
What are the others?
Many others. Take a look at all the Slavic countries of the Balkans.
Baltic states.
Parts of Ottoman Empire and so on.
Yeah.
Those were disappeared for a longer time.
The Ottoman Empire? What?
The parts that
were absorbed into the Ottoman Empire.
Yes.
Yeah. So Southern Europe, Balkan Europe, places like that.
Take a look at the Ukraine. That's much longer.
And Ukraine, that's right, because the Ottomans were actually in Crimea, famously, right?
Yeah, so historically speaking, disappearing and reappearing countries are notorious in a way in Europe. We've got countries that reassemble themselves, like Germans. They fall apart, reassemble, fall apart, reassemble, and that's like a breeding process.
Yeah, but
the Germans never were really wiped off the map.
Yeah.
Like Poland has been.
Yeah, Germans never were wiped off the
map. Getting wiped off the map is the thing. And for such a long period, and as a conspiracy between three powers, it's rather odd.
That's true. And there is still the division line
way.
People can see on the map. Some people say that it's visible, it's sociologically visible, between the Austrian part, the Prussian part, because we usually associate that more with Prussia than with Germany, because those were the times.
No, you're true. You're right. They still do that.
Yeah, and the Russian part, from which most of my family is. But if you look at his family history, we're all over the place. All three partitions.
What does all over the place mean? Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
No, I was just going to say, the parts in the south, you can see the divisions because of the architecture. You can see the architecture division in the south, you can see the architecture division on the east, and you can see the different architecture to the west, southeast, because that's the Russian part.
Southwest,
you can see it. That's what he's talking about, the social break lines. You can see that, but it's also...
that's a very, very good point.
You can even see it until now in the way people vote, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's really true what you guys are saying about the architecture, and anybody can see that for themselves when they come here. It even goes down to some of the castle architecture and palace architecture.
Yeah, one of the ones that we talked about last time, Malbork.
Yeah.
Yes. It's a Crusader castle, isn't it? I mean, it looks like classic.
But the Crusaders, they built Malbork. They were the second Prussians, because the first Prussians, the original Baltic tribe, they were eradicated by the Teutonic Order.
What were they called?
Built
Do you remember?
The castle. They were called Prussians.
Oh, they were the Prus or whatever. Yeah.
They were Prusy.
Yeah,
they were the original Prusy. Yeah. So the Prusy that are Germans, they're actually, this is a cultural appropriation.
Okay, we got a break. That's it for the first half. That's a rollicking good time. What a conversation. Okay, everybody, stay tuned. Watch these advertisements, buy all these products because it keeps us on the air. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in just a couple of minutes. Ah, it's good coffee. It's fresh from the pot. Yep. Now, welcome back. We've got Olgierd Uziemblo, our resident instructor from the University of Knowledge in Warsaw. And we have the equally brilliant Anthony Mcfarlane Gonzalez, veteran of many battlefields, and a man with more stories than you can shake a stick at. I know, because I tried to shake a stick at all of them and I couldn't. And Anthony's going to stay with us, I hope. I like the look on Olgierd's face. What did he just say? It's an old Southern expression. There's more of those than you can shake a stick at, which I always thought was picturesque.
You Americans and your
I know, we're homespun. We're homespun. I don't even know what it means, but it sounds good. To me, anyway. To everyone else, it's very confusing, obviously. Now, the city of Warsaw was almost completely destroyed in World War II. Anybody who's seen the movie The Pianist would know that, or any documentaries about the war, World War II, that show what happened in Warsaw, would know all about that, or anybody who studied Jewish history would know all about that, the Warsaw Ghetto. The interesting thing is that it's all been rebuilt. And now Warsaw is one of the most, what do you call it, energetic cities, vibrant cities?
Vibrant.
In Europe, for sure, if not the world. It has risen like a phoenix. That's a cliche, I'm going to say it. From the ashes, okay, I said it. But we're learning English here too, some people. And how did they rebuild the old town, particularly? Because it looks like it's been here for centuries, and it's been here since the mid-1950s or whatever, finally finished in, I guess, in the early 90s, after 1989. How did they do that?
Well, Olgierd found that out. Actually, Olgierd told us that they saved the architecture designs. Somebody actually had the forethought and stowed them away safely somewhere until the time was right to bring them back out when the war was over to start rebuilding the cities from scratch. So whoever was that architect or those people that saved the architecture of the buildings is smart. I think they did the same thing in Gdansk, or the major cities that were almost leveled, because Gdansk was completely, utterly destroyed. There was nothing left of the city.
And there was a lot of cities which were defensive, the defensive hub of Germans, and they were completely destroyed. From Wrocław to Gdańsk, Szczecin, basically taken down. But yeah, it's not only that. They were trying to recreate, which I don't think not everybody really likes. They're trying to recreate the look of Warsaw from the earlier time. And they used Belottos, but not the Belottos, pictures to recreate the outside of the buildings. And for example, for me, it's an interesting case because my parochial church is St. Alexander on the Three Crosses Square. If anybody wants to look, it looks like a Roman Pantheon. It's in the middle in the square. And they recreated the look of that church when it was built. Which, in a way, it's a little bit ironic because that church was founded by Warsaw wealthy people in honor of the Emperor Alexander of Russia. And that's why it is St. Alexander's Church.
Very interesting. And the old
and they
town
took down, there was a big bell tower next to it until the Germans destroyed the whole thing. So it really changed it back to the look from the beginning of the 19th century.
Olgierd, how beautiful a city was Warsaw before it was destroyed?
How can I know? I was not born there.
Yeah, but you've seen pictures, you've heard stories from your family.
Oh, come on, everybody is going to beautify his youth. Of course, Warsaw was the most beautiful city, the Paris of the East, the Moscow of the West.
I hate when people say that. You go to Bydgoszcz, it has one canal, and they say, it's like Venice. No, it's not.
Yeah.
Mhm. No.
There are no
Bydgoszcz
cities
is
in Poland
beautiful,
like
come on.
Venice or even Amsterdam. There
Still,
are cities with
Bydgoszcz is
canals,
beautiful.
and they're beautiful, like Gdansk or Wrocław, but they're not like, or Apollo, which has a little bit of that feeling. But they're not like Venice is incredible. Takes a
Or
lot of
Hong
chutzpah.
Kong, which has a lot of islands, and you travel from one island to another on boat.
Where's that?
Yeah, or
Hong Kong.
Hong Kong.
Hong Kong. Yeah.
Yeah. Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand have the same, but
Yeah.
Hong Kong is the well known for that.
Yeah. I think we should just, stick with, they're really interesting and nice cities in Poland or in Central Europe. I think that's a good.
There are a lot, actually.
There are, yeah. Yeah. It's really true. I get to see them traveling around doing this, having had the pleasure to do and the privilege to do the travel program for 5 years.
So what do you think about
traveling
Białystok?
around. Białystok?
Yeah.
It's actually stunning.
I like Białystok. It has some very interesting churches, perhaps the most diverse series of buildings of worship in the country. And close by also the two Muslim sites near the
I was
border.
just going to say that the two Muslim sites on the border, I was going to say you might want to remember those two, because that struck me as odd, seeing those two Muslim buildings. I was like, Sotoyest.
Yeah. And you could get tartar food at one of them. There's a really good restaurant at one of them. I forget the name now. But there are two of them there.
Kruszyniany.
Yes, that's one.
Yeah.
And what?
Well, it's very interesting, and from my linguistic point of view, that place is also very interesting because not only it is that region was for a long time preserving some elements of Tatar culture, and they were also already using local language, so a mixture of Belarusian, Polish, which is sometimes called Podlakian language, and they were writing it down with Arabic script.
Yeah. What else do you think is good about Białystok? Since you brought it up.
Well, I also was thinking about the churches because I really like the cathedral, the one that is there.
Oh yeah, at the bottom
really
of
beautiful.
the bottom of the market square, and next to the big palace, which is the medical school. They turned this lovely palace and gardens into a place for the medical school. How appropriate! It's very nice. Doctors should be able to. We rely on them a lot, so it's nice that they have a beautiful place for their school.
Yeah, because most of people in Poland, they don't really know that Białystok is interesting at all. For them,
and
it's,
around
the border
Białystok
city
as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you have Białowieża to the south with the great primeval forest and the bison and all of that, which we've talked about before a bit. And then you have to the north Bierbsza, which is one of the great marshlands of Europe, where you have the Bierbsza River and the Narew River.
Okay, you're talking about Podlasie. How about Podkarpacie then?
To the south, past Lublin, in the corner.
Like Rzeszów, for example.
Well, I'm going there and so is Anthony. We're going for the conference, the World for Ukraine. I'll be talking about that in the next show. That's one of the reasons we're getting off the subject a little bit, till I get some new information from the horse's mouth, so to speak, or the mouths of the horses.
Actually, I remember we were talking about this this captain guy that was shot in Armenia. Actually,
you were telling a story. Just refresh us with that story.
Yeah, there was this shooting in Nagorno-Karabakh, and the Azeris were, saying, "We're very sorry, we mistaken those guys for somebody." But
Azeris are Azerbaijanis to some of us.
Yeah. Azeris.
Just so people know, because they say, what?
Yeah, there was they shot the captain of the fleet. It was the vice chief of the northern Russian fleet, whatever he was doing in Armenia.
Which is mad. Their navy keeps taking it on the chin. It's not much of a
they just
navy,
lost a lot of bunch of another captains in Sevastopol. It's like, huh?
Interesting, yeah, with that airstrike.
Oh, what was that?
Yeah, their navy is you know, got to feel sorry for their sailors. It's not run very well. Remember the Kursk submarine and other events,
Yeah.
which sank to the bottom with all hands, and Putin
Well, with
refused
Kursk,
any help.
it's still a shame, and you know, it's yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. The Polish landscape is very diverse, and so you mentioned people don't realize how diverse it is within this microcosm. You have lands that look like deserts. You have some of the most amazing coastline, a beautiful
And
coastline.
people usually confuse
Mountains.
desert with desert, because in Poland, the people always hear about the
Yeah.
Błędowski Desert, but it doesn't look like desert.
It's a savanna. I know it's not a desert. It's a
Where's
savanna.
that? Where's that?
That's over there by Krakow and
Yeah, I was filming there.
yeah.
Yeah, that place where they train with the Africa Corps, and
Yes,
and the Polish army trains there with its for those kind of.
for Afghanistan and
That's
desert
right.
environments.
Yeah, but
There you
the
go.
real
You know.
desert is on the sea. That's where you have the actual moving sands.
Yeah, which is called Weba, right?
Yes, Weber.
Weber.
The Weba area, which I've never been to. I can't wait to go
Well,
there.
take a look, because those are actual sand dunes, and this looks a bit more like a desert, although you have a sea next to it.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
really surprised that Will, you haven't been there.
I've been to Weba, but not to the not to the park. I was in Weba for a week once. It was a very odd week, I can tell you.
How did you manage to be in Weber a week and not go there?
That's what I'm getting at.
I was covering a rock and roll thing. Yeah, writing about
I'm
some
wondering
rock
what
and
you
roll.
were covering yourself with.
I was writing about some rock and roll people. Yeah, yeah. I was one of them. That's true. Yeah, yeah. About 10 years ago. Anyway, so yeah, and you talked about the Podcarpathia, which is an amazing area too, because you have there the Bieszczady Mountains, which I think is one of the wildest and most beautiful areas of Europe that's still rather undeveloped. And you also have, what's it, Donetsk River in this area? What's it?
Mhm.
You have the River San, of course. And these are really lovely places. Rivers.
Once the war is over, we should actually develop it in cooperation with all the surrounding countries, because there's a very nice tourist areas for nature.
Absolutely.
Really beautiful. It's
A
all
huge
the way
nature preserve would be
from our
wonderful.
Podcarpathia to Ukrainian Zakarpattia,
Yeah.
Hungarian, Romanian, Moldovan. Those are beautiful places.
Gosh, it is. I've been to Carpathia on the Ukrainian side, driven right along those mountains and then right to the Romanian border. One time it was absolutely stunning. It was a bit chilly.
That's where the Chop is, right? Chop.
Sorry, what?
Chop is the city on the Romanian border, right?
Yeah, yeah. As I remember, yes. Yeah, I
They're
wasn't
very
driving.
nice cities, small cities that are still not destroyed. Yeah.
Yeah, it's and when the war started, I thought, gosh, that's where you want to go, to these mountains, because they're impenetrable. There's numerous lakes and rivers and streams, just patchwork across that area, and dense forest and not many people in this area. So
The only thing you should be changed, that Transnistria will have to be controlled in a way.
Yeah.
Because the Russian troops in there are just unacceptable.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's a beautiful area.
Yeah. Well, if we start talking about unacceptable Russian troops, we have to look at Kaliningrad and a few other places.
Yeah. Another very interesting tourist spot. Kaliningrad is extreme. Oh, why do you make me use that stupid name, Kruleviec?
Yeah, I meant Kroleviec.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a beautiful place. It's of course mostly Prussian place. No, not many people know that Immanuel Kant was from there.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And this is a very, very historically interesting area as well.
Immanuel Kant. Pretty good philosopher, if you like that sort of thing.
Was he from there? Maybe I'm mistaken.
No, you're right. Yeah.
Oh.
As I remember, you're right. Yeah. But yeah, who knows? That doesn't mean you're right. Yeah. Ask Anthony.
Right.
He probably knows better than I do.
I'm surprised myself.
Yeah. What's the name of the Pustynia Błędowski? Is that it?
Yeah,
Brodowska,
Pustynia
yeah.
Brodowska.
which is between Czestochowa and Krakow.
Yeah, yeah. And it doesn't look like Pustynia. I mean, the desert you imagine when you think about deserts, although deserts actually do not look like the deserts we see in the movies.
No.
Most
Well,
part of
the
it.
Saudi. I was talking about this yesterday with someone. The Saudi Arabian desert is very different from the Mojave Desert, which looks more like a savanna. Whereas we think of the Sahara as the desert with the great sand dunes, right? But that's not what it's from Lawrence
Those are
of
little
Arabia
parts.
and all
You've
that.
got stones.
What?
You've got stony deserts. You've got those dry areas with
Sure.
kind of vegetation on them, but you don't really get that much sandy dunes.
Yeah, yeah. New Mexico has a lot of that, yeah, sort of desert. And Mexico. Texas.
Tony, you disappeared a bit.
Tony,
I
we're
can't
losing
hear
you a little bit.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
Okay. So I think the UAE are the ones that UAE and Qatar have those huge, massive, what everybody knows as the Arabian sand dunes. That's what everybody associates them. Saudi Arabia doesn't have that much sand dunes as everybody thinks they do. Yes, along their coastlines, as they're getting closer to those countries that have those massive sand dunes, yes. When you go farther to the west, they start losing that. They get to go to what the Sahara Desert looks like. Sahara Desert looks almost identical to a lot of the Mojave Desert that we have in Southern California, where the white sands, West Palms base is for the Marines and Air Force. But yeah, it's identical to that. That's where they have a lot of the salt flat runs. That's what they call salt flat runs for the world land speed records. And the desert that we have here in Poland is more related to the ones that are the Mojave Desert in any aspect, and any of the deserts like what's the one in the south, Serengeti. It's closely related to the Serengeti Desert,
Which is very much a type of savanna, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Very interesting. Okay. What's this with the Polish last names with the SKI and the SKA? What's that all about?
Well, Skimis belongs to this. Like he's, for example, we've got Kowalski, a very popular name, right? Like a smith in English. Smith, what does it mean?
Blacksmith.
Yeah.
And that's
Kowal
what
is a
Kowalski means,
blacksmith.
right?
But Kowalski is not exactly blacksmith, but somebody who belongs to blacksmith or his family.
Okay.
Like if you want to develop this ceremony, Kowalski syn, son of the blacksmith.
Ah, okay, like Richardson, son of Richard, or whatever.
Yeah.
Something like
but
that.
it doesn't
Or
mean always
Smithson
son.
would be
It may
son
be
of
somebody
Smith.
who is from his village,
A Smith.
or somebody from his family, not necessarily son.
And why is there SKI and SKA?
Is SKI in if you're masculine, and SKA if you're feminine.
And it's SKX if you gender non-specific?
Well, we're not Latin yet, so we
haven't
don't
got that
use it
together.
yet. But
Yeah.
but I believe we're going there. So eventually it will be very difficult to pronounce, though.
So if
Because-
you're a man, it's Kowalski. If you're a
Yes,
woman,
and-
it's Kowalska.
Kowalska.
Kowalska, okay.
That's how you recognize people who went through the American immigration process, because American immigration process mostly united everything into the masculine form. So it's Debbie Kowalski, not Debbie Kowalska, as it
Yeah.
would be in Polish.
And
But you have the same kind of ending in Czech. You probably are familiar with Navratilova.
of course.
It's because she's Navratilova. It's a female ending.
Okay. And what would it be for a man in Czech?
Navratilov.
Navratilov and
Navratilova.
Navratilova. Yeah, okay. Interesting. What are two famous Kowalskis from movies? Can you think of who they are?
The penguin.
What?
The penguin from Madagascar was Kowalski, wasn't it?
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know that.
No.
That's from left
Come on,
field. I
Tony,
didn't
why
see
are you
that.
laughing? That's true.
I didn't see
He's the
that.
most the famous
Okay.
Kowalski there is.
But that's a penguin. I mean, people called Kowalski from movies.
I'm sorry.
They're two
That's
really.
very
Don't be sorry. That
anthropomorphized
was funny. That was
penguin,
funny.
and he's very smart.
But,
So no, it's
So
Robert Kowalski and the Kowalski twins. That's what I would remember.
from what?
Don't remember the Kowalski twins from what, but Robert Kowalski. I think he was a producer, was he?
Yeah, but okay, maybe. But I'm talking about actually characters.
I
Oh,
don't know,
Vanishing
we're
Point. The guy
underrepresented
was
in
called
Hollywood,
Kowalski.
you know?
The guy in Vanishing Point was Kowalski.
Was he?
Yeah.
yeah.
And Clint Eastwood in the movie about the guy with the car, Gran Torino.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Great essay to be written about the two Kowalskis and what it says about the Polish spirit married with the American spirit of adventure, and and self-sacrifice. Very interesting ideas there in both of those movies, and that's why they're so popular, I guess.
Let's talk about the famous Kaczynski.
Who is that?
Oh, what was his name? Ted Kaczynski?
Oh, you mean that guy? He's dead,
Yeah.
Kaczynski, to me.
Yeah. But he was also
That's what I call
wearing
him,
that
dead
Polish-
Kaczynski.
What was the Iceman's surname? Do you remember?
Was it also
Yeah,
Kaczynski?
Kaczynski as well, right?
Kozinski, I think.
Kaczynski. How they
Polish,
butcher
we
it in
pronounce
American.
Kaczynski. It's the same surname.
I can't. Maybe it was.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly. I thought it was a little different. but-
Iceman's name. Hold on.
I'll check it.
Give me a second.
Yeah, you guys. Okay, we don't have someone. We should have someone sitting over here and doing.
No,
checking
sorry, it
things
was
for us.
Kuklinski. Hmm?
Kuklinski. Yeah, I thought it was a little different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh no, Kaczynski or Kaczynski. No, that's exactly how we're supposed to say it. Kaczynski.
Yeah, but the Iceman, the killer was
Oh no, this Top Gun. That's the movie Iceman. Top Gun. It's Tom
I'm
Kaczynski.
talking about the original Iceman. The actual killer for Italian mafia his name was Richard Leonard Kuklinski.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Which again, there is this very famous spy, anti-Soviet spy, Kuklinski.
That's right. Yeah, a little more salubrious name. Choice for Kuklinski.
And a very famous, very evil hero from the Potop, from the Deluge, was also Kuklinski.
The book by Sienkiewicz you're referring to.
Yes.
Is that right? Yeah. I don't know about you, but when I leave the studio there, I'm going right out to the forest in Brudno and look for mushrooms.
It is mushroom season.
Is it mushroom season? That's why I hear.
Been mushroom season.
But
for a
I
few
go
weeks.
out there anytime looking for. I love a mushroom hunt. It's one of my favorite
Oh,
things.
you can find mushrooms in the
Like an
forest all
Easter
the
egg
time
hunt.
around the year. It's just not all of them are edible, you know.
Yeah, I've never been
Remember
on a
that.
mushroom hunt in my life. But I bet you guys have, haven't you?
There's a lot of mushrooms in the forest that are sometimes
Mm.
unsuspectedly edible. Like you can find a relative of Chinese Moor. What is the moon mushrooms? The Chinese, the black things that are
That's
in
right.
the
Yeah,
salads.
yeah. You said last
You
time.
can find them in the forest in Poland as well.
But how do you know the difference between a good mushroom and a bad mushroom? Because
As we
they can be
were
very
talking
poisonous.
last time, you have
What?
to learn it from people. You have to
Yeah.
learn it from people.
I'd just be afraid that they're all poisonous.
No. You just gotta. Here's a general rule of thumb: is if you see the lines, stay away. If you see the sponge underneath the bottom of the head, you're generally okay. But then I usually just bring it to my mother and father-in-law, who discern which ones are good from the sponges or not.
So
there are some sponges
underneath
that are poisonous.
the head of the thing, if it's solid, you're okay. If it's got lines, don't eat it.
Stay away. Yep.
Is that what you said? Yeah. Is that what you meant?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah, because
what-
a lot of people that like saying lines. They look like gills from a fish. They
Yeah,
just look
horrible.
like gills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've seen those a lot. That's maybe why I'm afraid. I'm frightened. Maybe I have mushroom phobia or something.
It's not like
Fungophobia.
arachnophobia.
That's interesting.
Fungophobia. I could have that. I think I could have that. Yet I have to write that down with other lists to talk to my psychiatrist about. Fungophobia. Yeah. Actually, when I meet my
Don't open
psychiatrist,
your fridge, you know.
I'm usually
Don't open
helping
it.
them to solve their problems, you know? It ends up with they got their, they're lying down and weeping softly, Anyway.
No, but mushrooms are kind of therapy for Polish people. You go to the forest, you're alone with your thoughts, you're looking down, and you have a reason for it because you're looking for something, not because you want to avoid looking at the trees. It's a good thing.
It's time for me to put my hat on. We got
Atlanta
through it.
Braves.
The Atlanta Braves, the number one team in American baseball. And don't worry, American baseball was good enough for Stan Musial. It's good enough for this show. Stan, one of the great Polish heroes of sport. Polish American.
You know what does palant mean?
Yeah, that's the beginning of baseball, one of the origins, right?
And also, it is a swear word in Polish, means an idiot.
Yeah, I've heard that more often.
Yes.
For some reason. I don't know why.
Especially when you were riding a bike. Don't we hear that a lot, no?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Jedziesz palancie.
We're standing in the wrong line somewhere. In the way. Idiot.
It's not very strong, so you can put it on the show. But yeah. It's not very gentle.
No. Look at that. I'm doing my papers like this was a serious news show. Okay, everybody. I want to thank my guests, Olgierd Uziemblo, instructor at the University of Knowledge in Warsaw, and cybersecurity expert, veteran of many wars, many battlefields, we should say, and 2 wars at least, Anthony Mcfarlane Gonzalez. Gentlemen, and good friends of me and of mine and of this show, thank you, gentlemen, for being with us. Always a pleasure to see you and talk with you about these, whatever it is we have to be talking about. This week, it was about interesting things to know and tell about Poland, of which there are many, many more. I have pages and pages we'll get to next time. Thanks for watching and see you next time.